Exciting news, everyone. My new book, I Wish I'd Quit Sooner, is officially out now. You can grab it on all major book retailers and online distributors, and the audiobook is also available on all the popular listening apps. Visit drlaura.live or check the link in the show notes to get your copy today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Where Work Meets Life. I'm Dr. Laura, and today you'll be hearing from me on how to stop toxic bosses. With my book being out, I Wish I'd Quit Sooner, I've been having many discussions about how we go about stopping this massive problem in the world of work, the problem of toxic bosses harming people. They are prevalent. 87% of professionals have suffered from one. Almost 50% of people have quit their job because of a toxic boss. They're costing the economy in North America billions and billions of dollars each year in the turnover costs of losing good people due to toxic bosses. So I won't go into the details further on that. We know it's a significant problem and they're widespread, but how do we go about stopping toxic bosses? And I get asked this question a lot. It ain't easy. I would say anything important in life isn't necessarily easy. It takes courage, it takes determination, and I'm going to get into that with you today. And the first step to stopping toxic bosses is to identify what's going on, to bring their behaviors to light. And through my research on toxic leadership and my book, I Wish I'd Quit Sooner, I've identified 8 personas of a toxic boss. And understanding and identifying the personas helps people understand exactly what's going on, because their harmful behaviors are killing people's engagement, productivity, and well-being. And there are 8 personas at play. And the book really gets into what personas are you dealing with. I have checklists in the book. The book is also on Audible, by the way, with a full workbook to accompany it. And all of this to say, these personas are troublesome, and most toxic bosses have more than one of these. So, for example, there's the dishonest manipulator. You can't trust. They're always manipulating situations for their own good, not the greater good. Or the gaslighter, who's making you feel like you're losing your mind, like you're losing your memory. It's brutal psychologically to work for a gaslighter. There's also the control freak, which is beyond just another micromanager. A lot of managers, especially new supervisors, tend to micromanage because they just think it's easier to do it themselves than to have to explain it to someone else. Or they know everyone's busy, so they'll just take it on themselves. Neither of which is good, because we need to give people the opportunity to grow through delegating. However, the control freak is the micromanager on steroids. They are controlling everything. Day and night, they are controlling what you're doing, and they have a watchful eye on you. So identifying these personas is the first step to stopping toxic bosses, because then we can have an understanding and a language to talk about what's going on, whether I'm the person who's subject to a toxic boss or whether I'm an HR leader and I've received a complaint of what's going on. Having this common language gives us something to describe the behaviors and the impacts. The book gets into the impacts, which are physical. So it can raise your blood pressure, it can wreck your gut, or psychological, anxiety, sleep disturbances, self-confidence. Self-confidence is one of the biggest hits a toxic boss makes. I've worked with managers, I've worked with executives, I've worked with people who are high achievers in their career, industry experts across industries. And the common denominator is their confidence is bruised and beaten down by a toxic boss. It breaks my heart. I'm just so grateful I can help people get their confidence back. And I can do that one-on-one. And I love being able to do that and shine a light on it and help people believe in themselves again. But I also do it through the book, I Wish I'd Quit Sooner, where people are walked through the stages of dealing with, navigating, escaping, and recovering from a toxic boss. So stopping it. Stopping it from an organizational perspective takes the 3 C's. The 3 C's are care, curiosity, and courage. So let's talk about care. In organizations, we need to care about people who may be suffering under a toxic boss, or ourselves if we're suffering under a toxic boss. It requires tremendous self-care, and the book gets at a whole buffet of self-care options, but we need to take care of ourselves. It's like we have a glass, and for those of you on YouTube, I'm holding my glass of water like I always like to do to show you that we have a reserve, and every day we need to fill that glass with things that bring our energy back. Physical exercise, time outdoors, journaling, meditation, grounding, spiritual practices, a coffee with a good friend, an appointment with your therapist, a massage, an acupuncture session, whatever it is, the list goes on. I could name 100 things that have helped me over my life, and I've had a couple of toxic bosses myself. But filling our cup by caring for ourselves is the first step. And organizations need to care about this issue because it's really about human beings and compassion at work, in addition to profit, bottom line, and productivity. Both are important. I'm a businesswoman, but I'm also a person who deeply cares about other human beings. And what I'm seeing in organizations is not enough focus on the side of care. And if we talk about energies in the world, and this is just a slight woo-woo moment, but it's not actually woo-woo. It's the truth from my perspective anyway, is that there's 2 energies. There's love and there's fear. Love seems, Laura, why are you talking about love when it comes to workplaces? My gosh, you've gone crazy. Well, actually I haven't, because those are the 2 frequencies for our human condition. And love is about care, compassion. We're all on this human journey together on this planet, sharing the planet like roommates, but we're all ultimately connected, and life is tough, but life is beautiful, and caring for one another, whether we're at home, whether we're at work. It's all important. It all matters. And caring brings out the best in human beings. It brings out creativity. It brings out support, collaboration, team cohesion, mentorship. All of those things come from a place of ultimately love, which is I care about my fellow human beings. And I care about myself too, but I don't care about my needs to the detriment of their needs. So that's my view on care. The opposite of care or love is fear. And fear is running rampant right now through the world and through the world of work. And fear comes from a place of there's not enough competition. You need to lose if I win, and there's not enough for the both of us. And a place of my needs are more important and my stuff is more important. And it's all about me versus we. And some of the most successful people I know are the ones who have been successful financially and in those ways that we think when we think success. But they've given back with a generous heart. They are there for their fellow human beings. They are a great mentor. They are a generous philanthropist. They are giving of their time. They are giving of their love in a troubled world. And those are the ones who are truly successful. And it's all how we define success. If success is only the size of our bank account, that's only one part of success. And I've never been to a celebration of life or a funeral where in the eulogy, it was this person had a hefty bank account. They did so well financially. Oh my gosh, their payouts were massive and all about money, all about money. The eulogy's all about their money. Look at that. But their money doesn't follow them when they pass. And money brings experiences. Money brings luxuries and comforts, which I appreciate too. I appreciate, absolutely. But it's not the only metric of success. Because if it's all about money, but you've reached that pinnacle of financial success by throwing people under the bus, hurting people, harming their mental health, killing their physical health, by being a toxic boss, is that true success? No. At your funeral or celebration of life, it'll be about how you've made an impact in the world, how you've made a difference in the world, how you've touched the lives of those people at work. Yeah, you had a successful business. Yeah, you made it big in whatever you did. You were an influencer, you were an impactor, but you helped people. You helped leave the world a better place than when you came. That is true success. So I went on a little tangent there, but I think it's important to understand that care is lacking in too many workplaces, and we need that love frequency. We need that care in workplaces so that people can perform at their best. And if we truly care, it's more difficult for toxic leaders to survive. Okay. But care is only the first step. It's also about curiosity, being curious about what's happening with your leaders. How are they managing people? And most organizations that I work with do one of two things in that regard: nothing, or they do annual engagement surveys to get a sense of people's engagement. But engagement surveys, especially ones that are benchmarked nationally or internationally, they only tell a higher level picture. They don't get into the nitty gritty of what's going on. We need to ask more pointed, targeted questions, which I'm working on myself. I'm working on how do you identify the behaviors of a toxic boss that are happening in the organization so that we can get a sense of the hot spots and take action on them. The only way to do that is to ask the questions in a targeted, intentional way and be open and honest about the process that's being followed, people's confidentiality, so they're protected if they have a toxic boss. They're protected from losing their job, which I've seen happen again and again. And they feel open to share. And then, most importantly, whatever data is learned is acted upon with courage, which is the third C. Courage is about taking swift action when it comes to discovering a toxic boss. So we can discover a toxic boss through a few different methods. One is collecting the anonymous survey data. Another is complaints that are filed to HR, complaints of harassment, complaints of bullying. And any one complaint needs to be treated as, okay, is this the truth of what happened? And it needs to be investigated because there are two parties. There's the leader, the boss, and there's the person making the complaint. And sometimes the truth may not be exactly what we think it is. And we need to get to the bottom of that. However, if it's a toxic boss, the truth needs to be unveiled that yes, they are toxic. And if they are, something needs to be done about it. So it's that whole process of taking those complaints very seriously. Second is turnover. Turnover is like a gold mine of data. And too often it's just a checkbox for HR. Okay, have you done the exit interview on the person yet? Check, check. Yeah, they had some complaints and this and that, and it's shoved under the carpet perhaps. And toxic bosses are very good at painting the story that it's not their fault, it's everyone else's fault. So, oh yeah, that person, it's good they're gone. They were slacking. They were not doing their job. I'll get someone way better. Or, I've just had some bad hires lately, bad people on the team. It's good that they're leaving because I need a team of A players, and just making excuses. And you're going to hear that from a toxic boss. But if you're getting turnover after turnover, that is a serious sign that you need to really open the hood of that car and say, what is going on with that supervisor? We need to get to the bottom of that end quickly. And that's where you do what I call stay interviews. You do interviews with the people who are still reporting to the leader on, hey, what is going on here? Let's talk about this because some of your colleagues have left. Can you tell me what it's like on this team? Does your leader support your development? Do you feel safe to bring up ideas or mistakes? Do you feel safe to speak your mind when you need to on what's going on? And those sorts of questions, of course, I'm just riffing here. They need to be really carefully constructed and asked. And we can't have HR asking those questions because HR is part of the group. They're part of the fabric of the organization. And it puts them in a really difficult position, it would be better to have an outside party. Like my team does that sort of thing. I have people that do that sort of thing in my network where we can get to the bottom of what's going on in a way that it's safe. You're talking to an objective third party that has a code of ethics and a confidentiality standard that they're not going to throw you under the bus if you open up about what's going on. So it's those asking of the questions. What would make you stay here? What would make you leave like your colleagues have? Getting to the bottom of that proactively rather than waiting for the exit conversation. So it's the courage. And when the organization finds out, it's about acting swiftly. It's about having a zero tolerance policy for abuse. And oftentimes toxic bosses are abusing, and they're doing so in various ways, which are overt or covert. Overt abuse is bullying, harassment, the obvious things, where covert abuse is more silent and sneaky and manipulative, like a snake in the grass. And those types of abuse are harder to get your finger on because they're not as obvious. And a truly charismatic toxic boss it'll shock the chair of the board. It'll shock the CEO to know that, I'm just going to make up a name here, to know that George is like that. George is our best business developer. George has been at the firm for 10 years. George has brought in more new clients than anyone else. You can't be talking about George. George can't be doing these terrible things to people. And it's hard to get your head around. But I caution that they're sneaky, they're manipulative, they're covert, and we need to understand if that's what's going on, we cannot have them stay in a leadership role. Okay, if George is great at clients and such, maybe we keep George, but he's in an individual contributor role and he's working with clients, but he's not managing people. Or maybe it's time that George is sent on his merry way back into the universe of work because he is hurting people. And although he may help our profit, over time, he's going to damage our bottom line. He's killing our culture. He's silently killing our culture, which inevitably loses talent and decreases our ability to perform in whatever market we're in. And so frankly, organizations hang on to toxic bosses for far too long. And it's not until they've done major damage and many, many people have left and there's been a major impact that, oh my gosh, we should have gotten rid of them a while ago. I caution you, it's better to act sooner so that your people don't quit sooner. I wish you would act sooner, because the sooner you act, the more you are opening your culture to be a healthy one again, where people can once again thrive in their career. And I have interviewed a lot of people in my research, and one of them, a college director, she had a really good quote. So after their notoriously toxic boss was finally let go, she said, the structure changed. It was like the windows opened up and that negative energy left. A siege and then a purge for many people. And this is a story of the team got so much healthier after she left. They were able to no longer walk on eggshells. They were supportive, collaborative. People stopped quitting, and people brought their best selves to work because they once again felt psychologically safe. So letting go of a toxic boss or repositioning them out of a people leadership role ain't easy. But if you're in a leadership capacity, you have a great responsibility for human lives. And those tough decisions, I'm sorry, they come with your compensation. But you can do it. You can do it. You are strong. And if you want to have a healthy culture, just like a healthy garden, you got to get rid of the weeds. And toxic bosses don't get better over time. They get worse over time. Their manipulation tactics increase and they harm more people. And they're not open to development. So if someone asks me, Dr. Laura, am I a toxic boss? I say no, because if you were, you would never ask that question. they would never ask the question. They're not open to developing. Their ego is too large to actually develop, and they've suffered a lot of traumas. Only major interventions could help them, and not simply leadership development programs. It would be major therapeutic interventions that would help them. And people may argue this with me because a difficult boss gets mixed up with a toxic boss all the time. A difficult boss can be a poor communicator, a bad delegator, frustrating to work with, but they can be developed. They do not intend harm. They don't intend harm, and they're open to becoming a better boss. And you can learn to work with them and manage them. So yes, difficult bosses are plentiful and they can be developed. Toxic bosses, although they're in the minority, I don't have an exact stat for it, but I'm just going to throw out 5 to 10%. They should not be in people leadership roles, and we need to act on them swiftly. So I hope this helps. I welcome your comments. I welcome debates on this topic. I'm all about making the world of work better for human beings, while organizations can still be successful, still be profitable and productive and high performing, where the people thrive and the organization thrives. I wish you the very best. Stay well. Thank you for tuning in to Where Work Meets Life. If you found this content valuable, please rate, review, and share with others who may benefit. If you're struggling in your work life and need support, I offer coaching sessions. You can book a complimentary consult on my website. I'm also a passionate keynote speaker and would love to discuss your professional speaking needs. Visit my website, drlaura.live, to sign up for my monthly e-newsletter filled with tips and resources to help you stay well.